1 bucket, 5 minutes, music to set up. 48 hours later, you have twice as much protein as you started with. No soil, no weeding, no waiting months for harvest. NASA calls it the most protein-dense plant on Earth. Music. Thailand has eaten it for centuries. They call it eggs of the water. 2 things explain why almost nobody in the West grows it. One involves water. The other involves a lie we have. Been told music about where protein comes from. By the end of this video, I will show you the exact 5-minute setup that music turns any container into a protein factory. But first, music, you need to understand why this plant was hidden from you in the first place. Welcome back to Secrets, Music Beneath Nature. If you have ever wondered why growing your own protein music feels impossible, while corporations profit from your dependence, you are about to discover something that music changes everything. For generations in northern Thailand, music families have harvested tiny green spheres from still water. No farm, music needed, no fertilizer purchased, just a wooden bucket, and patients measured in hours, not music months. They called it pum. Their grandchildren called it music breakfast. The plant floated on calm ponds and drainage ditches. It required nothing but water and sunlight. Yet it provided something that should have been impossible. Complete protein, every essential amino acid, growing faster than anything Western agriculture had ever seen. Then, a scientist at Rutgers University noticed what indigenous music communities already knew. Dr. Eric Lamb saw a plant so small you could fit dozens on a single fingernail. It grew so fast it defied everything modern agriculture taught us about efficiency. When NASA started searching for food to grow on space stations, they tested every candidate imaginable. They tested lettuce, soybeans, wheat, and potatoes. One plant outperformed them all. The same protein source a Thai grandmother harvests from buckets, music, now feeds astronauts in orbit. The same plant Western science, ignored for decades, became music, the centerpiece of space food research. We have been told protein requires vast land, music, intensive farming, and months of growth cycles. This plant laughs at those rules. Picture this. Day 1, music. You place a thin green film on still water, barely visible. Music, just a scattering of dots, smaller than lentils floating on the surface. Day 3, a carpet so thick you cannot see the water beneath. The green has multiplied into a dense mat covering everything. Day 5, you scoop out handfuls and the bucket looks exactly as full as before. The plant replaced itself overnight. Each frond is smaller than a grain of rice, bright green, no roots visible on most species. Music. Just pure concentrated nutrition floating like living emeralds. The texture is soft, almost silky when fresh. Music. In Thai cuisine, they serve it in omelets and soups. The taste surprises everyone who tries it. Mild, clean, slightly nutty. Nothing like the pond. Scum its appearance suggests. Dry it, powder it, and you now hold something, music, with more protein per gram than most things in your refrigerator. Now let me show you the numbers that do not make sense until you see them yourself. Researchers, Anroth and colleagues published their findings in food chemistry. In 2017, duckweed protein content ranges from 20 to 45% dry weight. For comparison, beef is about 26% protein. Eggs are around 13%. Soybeans come in at 36% on a good day, a study published in the Journal of Agricultural and Food. Chemistry in 2024 found that one species called lemngibba reached 45% crude music protein. The amino acid profile is complete. All essential amino acids are present, meeting or exceeding World Health Organization requirements for human nutrition. The protein inside this plant is mostly something called rubiscoco, the most abundant protein on Earth, the same molecule that makes plants convert sunlight into food, concentrated into something you can eat directly. Here is where it gets strange. Current Biology published a paper in 2023 that made scientists reconsider everything they knew about plant growth. Under favorable conditions, duckweed doubles its biomass clonally in 48 to 72 hours. A 2025 paper in Scientific Reports called it the closest plant to what researchers call the Darwin-Wallace demons, the theoretical organism that reproduces as fast as mathematically possible. Ziegler and colleagues measured doubling times as fast as 1.34 days. Some species approach 16 hours under perfect conditions. Compare this to anything else you might grow. Soybeans need 90 days minimum. Beef cattle need 18 months to reach slaughter weight. This plant doubles before most people remember to water their houseplants. Now, here is where conventional agriculture falls apart completely. A 2024 paper in Science Direct compiled the numbers across multiple studies. Duckweed yields 2,080 kilos of protein per hectare per year. Soybeans produce 303 kilos per hectare per year. Corn produces 179 kilos per hectare per year. That is not a small difference. Duckweed produces nearly 7 times more protein per unit of land than soy and 10 times more than corn. ACS Food Science and Technology went even further. Under optimal European greenhouse conditions, duckweed yields 10 to 18 tons of protein per hectare per year. Soy in the same region produces 0.6 to 1.2 tons. One researcher summarized it simply: the surface of a small pond can see outproduce an entire soybean field. The environmental numbers destroy every argument for industrial meat production, food, and bioprocess. Technology published data in 2025 showing duckweed produces 0.4 kg of carbon dioxide, equivalent per kilogram of plant material. Beef produces 27 kilos of carbon dioxide equivalent per kilogram. That is nearly 70 times the environmental impact. Duckweed needs no tractors, no pesticides, and no competition for cropland. It grows on water that would otherwise sit unused. So why music? Did this knowledge disappear from Western awareness? 3 reasons compound each other. First, it looks like pond scum. Western agriculture values appearance and size. The visual spectacle of a cornfield draws attention. A plant you need a magnifying glass to appreciate does not photograph well for farm subsidies. Nobody brags about their floating green music carpet the way they brag about their tomato. Harvest. Second, it cannot be patented in its natural music form. No seed company profits from something that reproduces by splitting in half. No equipment manufacturer sells specialized duckweed music tractors. No processing facility stands between you and your food. Every middleman in industrial agriculture loses money when you grow protein in a bucket. Third, the industrial food system depends on complexity. It relies on long supply chains, storage infrastructure, and processing facilities. A plant that grows itself in any container, music, threatens the entire model. But in northern and northeastern Thailand, this knowledge never disappeared. They call it music kanam, eggs of the water. The genus Wolffia has been featured in local cuisine for centuries, served fresh in omelets and stirred into soups. It was such an obvious protein source that they never needed to rediscover it. Dr. Wayne Armstrong at California Music State University spent decades documenting every duckweed species on Earth. He found Wolffia globosa growing wild within miles of major American universities, the same plant Thai grandmothers harvest. It was floating unnoticed in American ponds, hidden in plain sight. Then, music space travel changed the equation. NASA needed food that grew fast in small spaces with minimal inputs. Suddenly, duckweed mattered to people with funding. The Translational Research Institute for Space Health partnered with University of Colorado Boulder. Their finding, published in 2020, shook everything researchers thought they knew. Duckweed is the most protein-dense plant music on the planet. It produces radiation-fighting antioxidants called zeaxanthin and lutein. It thrives under artificial light at half the intensity of normal sunlight. The first space test happened in 1966. Duckweed music flew on the orbital vehicle satellite alongside chlorella algae. That was decades before most Americans heard the word superfood and before protein powder became a billion-dollar industry. NASA already knew what this plant could do. They tested it on the MER space station. They grew it in the closed equilibrated biological aquatic system. Research published in 2024 showed that just 600 Gs of fresh Wolffia could meet an adult astronaut's daily protein needs. Now, I promised you the 5-minute setup. Here's exactly how to do it. Music. You need any container that holds water. A 5-gallon bucket works perfectly. A plastic storage bin works too. A kiddie pool is good for larger production. Even a glass baking dish on a windowsill will do. Choose shallow and wide containers, not deep and narrow. Duckweed only grows on the surface. 3 in of water depth is plenty. More surface area means more growth space. For water, you can use dechlorinated tap water. Rainwater works even better. Pond water is ideal if you have access. If you use tap water, let it sit overnight in an open container so the chlorine can evaporate naturally. You can also add a water conditioner from any pet store. The pH should be between 6 and 7.5. Most tap music water already falls in this range. For nutrients, you have several options. Fish tank water is perfect. The nitrogen from fish waste gives music duckweed exactly what it needs. If you do not have a fish tank, dilute any balanced liquid fertilizer to 1:5, the strength recommended on the label. You can also add a few drops of aquarium plant food each week. Even a tiny amount of organic matter from music, like a decaying leaf, provides enough nutrients to get started. Now, the duckweed, music itself. Float your starter on the surface, starting with enough to cover 10 to 20% of the water. You can find duckweed in local ponds, order it online, or get some from a friend with an aquarium. 1 tablespoon is enough to start an entire bucket. Place your container where it receives bright indirect music light, 6 hours minimum. A sunny window works, and a shaded patio will work as well. Direct hot sun all day can music overheat the water, but duckweed tolerates more variation than you might expect. Temperatures between 60 and 90 degree F are ideal. Music. That is the entire setup. Walk away. 48. Music. To 72 hours later, the coverage has doubled. You will not believe how fast it happens until you see it yourself. By day 5, you can harvest. Music. Skim half the surface with a small net or kitchen strainer. Leave the other half to keep growing. Rinse the harvested plants. Pat dry. Use them fresh in salads, music, or smoothies, or spread thin on a tray to dry for protein. Powder. One critical warning. Never dump duckweed into natural waterways. In some regions, it can become invasive. Compost any excess. Feed it to chickens. Give it to fish. Add it to livestock feed. It benefits nearly every animal that eats plants. The aquaponics community discovered this years ago. Tilapia farmers cut feed cost by 50% using duckweed. Backyard chicken keepers noticed their egg yolks turned deeper orange within weeks. Homesteaders in Arizona grow more protein in a 50-gallon storage tote, music, than their neighbors grow on 2 acres of alfalfa. Commercial interest is exploding. A company called Parabel USA developed a protein ingredient from water lentils called lentine. Hinaman in Israel sells wolfia, music, as a superfood supplement called mankai. The same plant available for free in most temperate music ponds now commands premium prices in health food stores. What grandmothers harvested for generations became a venture capital. Darling overnight. Here is what they never wanted you to understand. Protein independence requires neither wealth nor acreage, nor permission from industrial agriculture. The solution floated on every neglected pond and forgotten drainage ditch. All along the tie, grandmother knew. NASA music scientists know. Now you know. If you found this valuable, watch the next video and don't forget to subscribe. See you in the next one.